We're back. What's up, sneaker people? Happy 2025. It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and we are back with a new installment of our ultimate legit checking guide. And this time we are doing the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low Velvets. Now, I told you guys in the video that I dropped toward the end of 2024 that I would be getting an authentic pair of these so that we could do our legit checking guides, and I followed through. I pulled the trigger, I timed the market, and I got a retail pair. So that means, just like the other Travis Scott Jordan 1 Lows that we have done, I will be doing a series of legit check guides for this shoe so that you guys are equipped with the most accurate and valuable information that you need so you don't get got. And I am super happy to do that for you guys. So with that said, I hope you guys had a happy holidays and you are ready to tackle 2025, because I know this is going to be a crazy year for sneakers. But enough of that chit chat, enough of the yapping, because I get accused of doing that a lot. Let's jump into this guide. And just like in all of the videos in 2024, in this video you will always be able to find more detailed pictures of the replica, and this is the replica pair, but you'll be able to find more detailed pictures of the replica on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen, because I can't go over every single minute detail in this video because I ain't got the time and you guys don't have the attention span. So head over to that Instagram account so that you can do the research that you need to do so you don't get scammed, so you know exactly what you're buying. So let's get into it. And I am not going to waste any time on the box, because this is the same box that came with the reverse mochas. It's the same box that came with the canaries, and it's the same box that came with the golfs, more or less. So you guys have seen all of those boxes on this page before. So if you need any more reference guides on that, go to those other videos. Let's just go straight into the shoes, straight into the accessories, and let's see what we got. So on the left, we have my authentic pair here from eBay, and I want to say that I'm almost positive that this is a Chinese Asian market retail pair. I say that because the seller that I got them from on eBay is a partnered seller with eBay, and they are located in China. I'm making the assumption here that this is a Chinese Asian market retail pair. I don't know or think that there's much difference between the Chinese market retail pairs and the American market retail pairs, but I just want to throw that out there because there may be differences. And just like you guys, I'm learning all of this stuff as we go along too. So if you see anything that we should bring attention to, leave them in the comments. But here is my authentic pair. Take a quick 360. You know, in the first video that we did, the first reference guide that we did with the rep pair, we got a pretty good understanding of what these would look like, and more or less they look exactly the same. But when it comes to comparing them to the reps, this is where some things kind of get thrown off for me, because I can see pretty immediately that we are definitely going to have some color differences between the authentic pair and the replica pair. So let's just get straight into it. We're going into our classic side by side here, and there are things that I am expecting to vary between retail and rep pairs, and also between retail pairs, and there are things that shouldn't vary. The uppers more or less can vary, and I've seen plenty of retail examples that have browner suede on the uppers, like here and on the toe panel, and then I've seen that have more reddish, more velvety suede. So that's more or less going to be a hard thing to pin down. But when you do compare them to reps, you want to see a brown or a velvet, right? You don't want to see too much variation outside of that. So when you compare these together, I'm seeing a gray tone that I think is not as present in retail pairs or retail examples that I have seen up on the upper of the replica. And you guys can see it's almost like a light shade of black, or an ashy shade of black, that's going throughout the shoe. The rep almost looks a little bit washed out compared to the authentic pair. almost that they're close, but when you look at them, the rep just seems to be a little bit more washed out in terms of the suede on the Nike swoosh, on the toe box and the toe ran, and these lace holder areas. They just seem to be just a little bit more washed out. And that's when we come to see the next difference here is between the soles. You've got a pretty drastic difference between the midsole and the outsole of the rep compared to the authentic pair, and you can really see it side by side here. Now, there is a difference within retail pairs for the midsole, but it turns out that the other variation is a little bit more purple than it is brown. Here, we just have two different shades of brown on the outsole or on the midsole. And then when you look at the outsole, you have two different colors as well. The authentic pair being a light, almost purplish color, while the rep is a darker purplish color, I guess. It's kind of hard to see when you're doing it like this because all the studio lights are bouncing off of each other, but when you do side by side, you can really see that color difference. It's a lot darker on the rep than it is on the authentic. But while we're on the topic of the colors, I definitely don't want to not focus on the materials themselves. The material definitely feels the same as if it's the same type of material, but the reps, especially on the toe box, are just a bit more textured, and the hairs on the suede are just a bit longer. And you can see that when you go up close. And I feel like that longer texture plays into why this looks a little bit more gray than the authentic pair does. Swinging the shoe around the back, you definitely get more of that ashy gray undertone on the rep here, and you can see that on that other suede panel, that other type of suede panel on this shoe. And what I mean by other type, this shoe has two types of suede on it. You have this side panel suede and the toe box suede, and then you have this shorter, more condensed suede. It's the same on the authentic. Fuzzier, hairier on the toe and all the side panels, and then you have this condensed, tougher suede around the shoe. So the rep has that for sure, but you can see that the colors and the finishes are just a little bit off. But you can see that the authentic pair, even being darker, does lend itself to being prone to ashiness and scuffs and things like that. So, you know, these will definitely be hard to legit check. But there's your difference side by side. Definitely noticing a color difference. Definitely noticing some construction differences as well. Look at the way the sock liner is rolled up onto the top of the heel, but on the rep, it's definitely a lot more apparent, a lot bulkier of a finish on there, and you can see that. You can also see that the rep is a little bit taller too, even though they're the same size shoe. And that kind of starts bringing us into the realm of things that shouldn't be different going from the authentic to the rep outside of the nubuck. And those are those little color things. Taking a look at the tongue, we're getting slight differences in the colors of the tongue, even though they're fairly close. It looks like the rep pair, the nylon on the tongue is just a bit darker when you compare them side by side. Just a bit, but it is darker. The Cactus Jacks look more or less the same. It's a dark velvety color, and the Nike Airs are very, very, very close, just a tad bit different, just a tad. I would say the rep has a grayer undertone to it than the authentic pair does. And going from there, we do have slight differences in the color of the liners of the tongues as well. Very, very slight. Almost not even worth mentioning, to be honest. Comparing the materials of the reverse swoosh, honestly, I'd say they're identical. It's a fairly glossy, fairly textured reverse swoosh. Black leather. They feel very soft and very, very similar. I'm not seeing a difference there. But moving to the laces, I think that's where you get another pretty apparent color difference. You've got a lighter brown lace on the Authentic that comes pre-laced, and on the Rep it's just a little bit darker. The Authentic is almost like chocolate milk, and the Rep is just a darker version of that. It's almost like a dark gray, to be honest. While we're talking about laces, let's bring the other laces out in the boxes. You've got your pink and you got your darker brown from the Authentic. Same thing when it comes to the Reps. The box colors are a little bit different. You got that warmer box that Reps are known for, and you got that more faded cardboard box that you like to see on Authentics. Without taking the laces out of the box, I'd say that the laces are identical in terms of color. Going to the brown laces, the darker brown laces, you've got a similar thing going on with the boxes. Lighter, warmer color on the Rep box and a more faded color of cardboard on the Authentic. And I will say that based on appearance, the Authentic laces just look a little bit lighter and less washed out than the Rep. Outside of that, to be honest, we're just nitpicking at that point. You got slightly different colors in the sock liner, very, very slight. I would say that maybe the Rep is a little bit darker. Pulling out the insoles, you see that they actually look pretty close in terms of color. It's probably the closest insole that I've seen so far. And even the hair is really hard to see. So my usual trick is not really that effective here, because honestly, I can't really see the texture of the hair when I compare them, but more or less, I'd say the Rep is just a little bit lighter. It's got an almost slightly light-ish green tint to it compared to the Authentic, and you've got slightly different colors between the Nike Air on the Authentic versus the Rep. It's like the Rep is almost like a light blue or a dark blue in comparison to the black on the Authentic, and you just got a little bit fuzzier of a finish on the Travis Scott when it comes to the design and the edges and everything like that, but still very close. And now that we've got the basics of the shoe covered, let's do a very quick blacklight test. So pulling out the blacklight, see if there's anything crazy that pops up. I'm not seeing anything crazy as of yet. We're getting some slight reaction out of the Cactus Jack, a little bit, nothing too crazy. More like reflection rather than reaction. Nothing on the tongue. A little bit of reaction out of that lace. Nothing on the bottom. Nothing on the back. Back of the tongue. And nothing too crazy. Inside of the Travis Scott insole for sure. Definitely lighten up. Outside of that, there's really nothing that's going crazy on these shoes. Nothing out of the dark brown lace. A little bit of reaction out of the pink lace. The aglets of the pink light up though. The aglets of the light brown light up a little bit, but not too crazily, but they definitely react. And the aglet in the dark brown reacts as well. So we've got nothing on the shoes that light up, and we have aglets that light up. So let's see what the Rep does. Nothing on the shoe. Nothing on the shoe. We're getting light up on the insole, just like the Authentic. For the aglets, You are getting some reaction out of the pink, and reaction out of the brown. So looks like the blacklight test doesn't really turn up anything, and they both react in exactly the same way, despite having some differences in color. So let's turn on the lights and get back to the end of the video. So unsurprising to most people, we are not really getting a lot of differences when it comes to this shoe. And I think most of that has to do with the fact that they are pretty monotone, right? They are more or less one color, only two material, I guess technically three materials. You've got a flat, tough suede, you have a textured suede, and you have a shiny leather. And the reps get that correct in terms of the material. I will say that there's definitely some color differences that you can keep out for in terms of legit checking. That outsole and midsole are going to be things that you can look at for sure. Here's a better look when you do it side by side. The outsole really kind of gives it away. And the overall construction of the shoe for the rep is just a little bit larger and a little bit bigger. And you can kind of see that in the finishes subtly, but definitely differences nonetheless. I'm going to say this right now. These are going to be hard to legit check. Even if you have an authentic pair that you can reference, it's going to be hard because there are going to be differences between retail pairs that are going to be more abundant on this release than on previous ones. So we're definitely going to have to build up our repertoire of legit checking skills for this one. Am I going to say these are legit checkable? Yes, I am, because there are things that are different and you're able to call them out. The laces, the outsole, the midsole, the construction of the shoe, more or less. And you can see that where the authentic pair is pretty smooth when it comes to the other suede that's around the shoe, the rep is pretty rough and textured still, more reminiscent of the Phantoms as opposed to the Velvets, but nonetheless, these are going to be hard. But if you do your research, guys, you will not get got. So with that said, guys, remember you can find more pictures of the rep on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Happy New Year. Peace.